and welcome to this week's Scott Sports Show. I am Tyler Trumbauer. The softball team kicks off its season tomorrow in Raleigh, North Carolina, as the Scots will be competing in the Shaw University Softball Challenge. I'm now joined by head coach Dan Gierlach to preview the upcoming season. Coach, so before we get into this season, let's go back to last season. How do you feel it went? The records show that it was a solid season, but I mean, from a coach, you always have a different perspective. So how did the previous season go?
Well, I look at last year, at the beginning of the year, and we started, there were 7, 8 freshmen on the field. Mm-hmm. So beginning of the season, it was a little tough.
Yeah.
As the season got on, we got better and better and made it into playoffs. And last game in the playoffs, the kids realized that we went extra innings with IUP, which was a top 25 team, and had them beat. And so you draw on it, and I think the players learned from that last year. Mm-hmm. So we have the same team back. Basically, we're going to lose Brennan Cosgrove, who was our leadoff, and she was an academic All-American. But I think we're going to fill it in a couple of different ways.
Yeah, so you're only losing one, like you said, and having 7, 8 freshmen last year was a tough spot, but now this year they're experienced returners, as you said, and you're going to bring the entire squad back. So what's the squad looking like this year? You're going to be returning plenty of players, all of your pitchers, right? All coming back from the circuit, so that's always a positive. So with those returners, what's the outlook like for this upcoming season?
You know, I think last year, having the freshmen that we did, at times we snuck up on people. We're not sneaking up on anybody. They know what we're going to have pitching-wise. I think the pitchers have all done a great job. They're at a totally different level than they were last year. So I think the team realizes that, you know, we got to play every game. We're looking forward to it. I think our pitchers, even in practice, have done a great job against our players. And they're at a different level. And when you have that, that's, you know, especially in softball, if you can get some pitching, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, you can get a lot of complete games in softball. That takes you a long way. And when you have mostly double headers, that extremely helps. You mentioned you're not going to sneak up on anybody in the PSAC with the squad you're returning and how you did last year. And you're ranked 4th in the preseason poll from the PSAC. So the coaches do agree with you that you're not going to be sneaking up on anybody. How much stock do you put into that, and how much do you feel the players kind of buy into that? I mean, it is just the poll, it's just the preseason, but that is what your cohorts think of you.
Well, you know, it's hard to say. I think we can win it. Mm-hmm. We're that close. I think California is they're always up there. They got their pitcher coming back, but I think we the last time we played her, we challenged her big time. And I think we can get over that. I mean, we got to play against IUP and Gannon. Those are the teams that are in front of us. But you still can't forget about Slipper Rock, Mercyhurst. You know, they're all pretty good teams. So yeah, they're thinking that we're going to be there. I think we can be better than that. So as far as the players go, they understand where we should be. They got a taste of it last year, and we start out the fall the same way. We get through the nervousness of playing early in the season, I think we'll be in great shape.
Now, the nervousness in that early in the season, I'm glad you just ended with that, that's probably got to come a little bit from the fact that you're getting on a field. There's going to be grass beneath you, dirt. You're going to be playing softball outside. In Edinboro, probably more than nearly any other school in the PSAC, and the ones you're going to face when you head down south, is you didn't really get a lot of time in the offseason prepping outside. You had the dome, gym workouts. What's that been like in the preseason? And as a coach, how do you kind of curve that obstacle that is the weather and Mother Nature here in Edinboro?
Well, I get asked all the time how you deal with it. Mm-hmm. I think if you make a big deal of it, then that's part of it. But you're right. When we go down south, we're going to go, first time our kids are going to see a fly ball outside. So you have to learn to adjust to it. I don't think you make a big deal of it. You know, we've been used to it. The dome is a great place to practice, but the white background is different than picking up a fly ball
in a blue sky.
In a blue sky, totally different. So we'll get out the first day a little early and get our feet dirty and roll around in the grass. Hopefully a couple hours before the first game and just get some of that taken care of. You know, with dealing with that, but we got to play them. Most of the teams up North now this year are in the same boat we are. No one's getting outside. So now they know what I go through every year.
Exactly. So maybe that puts you more on a level playing field, being that everyone is experiencing bad weather,
Right.
not just up here in our region. Even when you go down south, some of those schools you'll face will have a little bit of an abbreviated preseason workouts. So, Coach, the fourth in the preseason poll, you just said you believe you can get all the way. You're going to have to face those Gannons, Cals, and IUPs and worry about in the rearview mirror as well. With that being said, with everything from last year, the returners taken into consideration, what are the goals, if the team has expressed those and you've talked about it, what are the goals for this season?
Our goals are to win the conference. We set those goals, last year, or I should say in the beginning of the fall when we came in. We worked for that goal. Our goal is to, number one, is to be in, the conference tournament, win the conference tournament. And with that will be an NCAA berth. So that is what the team has talked about. That's what we're striving for, and that's where we'd like to be. And with a bunch of young kids, sometimes that's better because they don't understand, all the other teams in the conference. So they've seen them a little bit last year and realize that they can play with anybody.
On the flip of that coin, though, do you feel that maybe the younger squad and that inexperience may plague you down the stretch, or do you feel you play so many games by that juncture of the season, it should just be old hat by then?
Well, I think that our kids will be a little nervous to start with, just starting all over again. But I think as the season goes on, the more time we can get outside, the more time we can correct those mistakes that they do make, the better we're going to be. The kids are at a totally different level. We've got more things in offensively and defensively than we did last year and couldn't put in last year because you don't give them too much, then they don't play. Or they're apprehensive in playing. And we want them flying around and doing it. So I think these kids have really responded to it. I've had to get them moving a little bit. I think at times you can have a sophomore jinx, and I've tried not to let them do that and try to really push them hard and just keep thinking about our goals and coming out every day and competing.
Trying to avoid that sophomore slump they always talk about. I hear you, Coach. Now, one thing, for you it's probably nothing, being you're nearly 30 years with the program now here at Edinboro, is the traveling. In my experience covering sports so far and traveling with teams, that does affect a team a little bit. You're not sleeping in your own bed, different routines, being on the road in the hotels. Going to be on the road for quite some time, play a good amount of games on the road as well. What is your message to the team with that, saying, ladies, now get ready. It's right from the beginning. You don't even get to ease in by just making a quick trip to Erie or playing at home. You go to North Carolina, West Virginia, going up and down the coast here. So what is your message to them about the traveling in the beginning?
Well, I think in the beginning, what that does for you when you get to a hotel, you're at one spot. So we'll be down in Raleigh and be able to actually come together as a team. I know when you're in basketball, you're traveling back and forth, and we do the same thing in softball late. But this is our time where we can come together as a team. We eat together. We're with each other all the time. So it's a team building and team bonding time too. So that really helps. And we just need to play games. That's what we'll have down there. We get down to Raleigh. We play. We'll play as many games as I can get in. They were talking about the weather down there. I said we're down there Monday, Tuesday. We'd play Monday and Tuesday. So the more we play, the better we're going to be. But I think it's a great time for those kids to come together as a team. And you get to know your teammates a little bit different. You're forced into, you're staying in a hotel, you're eating together, you're
rooming together.
It's
just different. It's
so,
almost a good thing to happen at the beginning of the season,
yes,
to build that chemistry together, that cohesion as a team. Now, you've seen this team, you've seen a lot of teams in your experience, the ones you've coached, ones you've faced. What are some strengths, some weaknesses you feel that are going to help and then also plague you, and ones you want to work on as the season goes along?
Well, I think the biggest thing we have right now, our pitchers are at a certain level, and I think they're very, very good right now. We have more than one. We have 5 or 6 pitchers, and they're all different. So we can give you different looks. You start hitting one, we can bring in a junk baller. You hit the junk baller, we can bring in speed. So there's a lot of different things we can do. I think if the pitching holds up like that, we're going to be in pretty good shape. I think you got a Haley Strubing who led our team in home runs last year, and our first baseman. She can be an all-conference, all-region player. She hits the ball that hard all the time. She's got to start out on fire. I think she needs to come to play early and bring those other kids with her. Kylie Mason is another kid, our shortstop, who is not playing basketball anymore. She's just concentrating on softball. She comes. She's got a great glove, and she can hit the ball. So those are some of the kids. Brooke Callaghan. Those kids, we need them to step up and get some of the younger kids, some life that way. The better they do, I think it'll carry over to the rest of the team.
Let's see if that happens, Coach, and as that season goes along, build that cohesion, get the team together, and hopefully get out on a field right here in Edinboro as well and hopefully play. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. Again, the Scots open up their season tomorrow at 3 p.m. against Fairmont State in North Carolina. Their first home contest is currently slated for March 17th against Slippery Rock. The probability of that being played, Coach? We'll look about that. We're going to hit a break, and on the other side, we will continue our spring sports preview with the women's lacrosse team as I sat down with their head coach, Kevin Cook, last week. Stay right there. Despite the mounds of snow that seem as permanent as the cement sidewalks that we have here on campus, the spring sports seasons are going to be starting up in a little over a week. We're going to preview one of them now, which is the women's lacrosse team, as I am now joined by their head coach, Kevin Cook. Coach, thanks for joining me today. To start off for this season, last year finished towards the bottom of the PSAC, but that could be a blessing in disguise as well. You can kind of surprise some teams. So, kind of reflecting before we get in on this season, what was last season like in your opinion?
Last season was good. It was really good for us. The final record and the final standings don't really show. Going into the final weekend of the season, we were still playing. We were still playing for a spot of the top six. And that's kind of been our goal the last 2 or 3 years is to make the top six. Top six, make the playoffs during the postseason, and that's kind of how you start to build a program and start to build a good tradition. Very true.
So now with being so close to that last season and now moving into this season, what has the off season been like? I'm sure it's going to be tough with a lot of snow everywhere, so you don't really get a lot of chance outside compared to some other schools in different regions. So what has the preseason preparations been like for your squad?
The Dome. That's what I can tell you. The Dome. It's a wonderful facility. It's 184 yards by 124 yards by 84 yards. So it's a really nice, good sized facility for us to get as much practice as you possibly can. That's all you can do is practice, inside. And, with the temperatures, even like last year, we were in the Dome pretty much the whole time. And, we got a chance to get outside, the day before we left for spring break. This year, it'll be tight, whether we can get outside or not. We're, that perfect storm you were referring to with Coach Swank, in last week's episode is kind of what we're going to be looking for this week this nice week and a half to try to be able to get outside at least once before our first game against Alderson Broaddus.
Yeah, very true. So looking at more personnel-wise for this team, returners, newcomers, what have you seen? What's the roster building up like for when you have that first match on March 6th?
We've always historically had depth issues. We've had a starting roster for a starting unit of 12, and probably having about 7, 8, 9 kids that are able to play, and having 3 or 4 fillers. Whereas this year's squad, it's a little bit different. While our numbers might not be all that much different in terms of just sheer roster size, our depth is better. From our first player to our 20th player, we're deep. We have a lot of kids that have a lot of flexibility in the positions they can play, which should offer us a tremendous increase in not just the wins and losses, but just the ability to be competitive in games.
What is kind of the biggest goal this season? Is it to get into that top 6?
Top 6.
Is that just hands down?
Top 6.
Alrighty, I got you.
Top 6. That's what we've been talking since September 1 when we got back to school. Is how do we get there? You know, and it's a process. You know, it takes your fall season to try to, you know, weed out with the positions that kids can and cannot play. And then it goes into the January season where we do get inside and we do have a chance to practice together on a more regular basis. But top 6 is where we'd like to be.
As a coach building this program, how has it gone thus far for you? I mean, is it what you anticipated it would be like? But, I mean, trying to build that women's lacrosse tradition, if you would, here at Edinboro, how has that been for you?
You know, this is, you know, I was brought in here because I've started programs in the past. And I think that the growth of the women's lacrosse has been, while it's really nice that the sport has grown so much, it's also made it very difficult to build new programs. You know, you have, when I first started coaching at the Division II level back in '94, there was, you know, 24 teams. Well, now we have close to 88 to 90, and that's just Division II. Division I's doubled, Division III has doubled, so all these players that we've had now have a place to go. You know, and now kids can kind of pick and choose. Do they want to stay close to home? Do they want to go down south? Do they want to go to California, Colorado? There's just so many more opportunities. You know, but you know the challenges here are just, you know, right now, and again, something you never really take into that much consideration is the weather. You know, the weather here is it's a challenge. It really is. But again, having a nice facility has been absolutely fantastic for us. I mean, anything that has, you know, 4+ basketball courts to be able to run, you know, our kids can get the distance in, which is nice.
Have you noticed that maybe, at least with the local recruits, do the local schools have women's lacrosse? Because that could kind of be a factor in recruiting too, because, you know, you'd like to get your local products too, but if they're not exposed to the sport, that could be an issue. Now, one nice thing is the school moving to equilibrium between in-state and out-of-state tuition. I know a lot of coaches have told me that's helped with recruiting as well. So how do those two things factor in?
Well, you know, I know Edinboro's a regional school. I mean, Ohio and New York, you know, are very good lacrosse areas. I mean, if you look at our roster, you're going to see a lot of kids from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, the Southern Tier. You know, and the reduction in tuition has been a huge help. I think all the coaches, you know, would tend to agree with that. You know, and this year the addition of some academic scholarships, which also does help us. You know, I mean, anything that we can stack on top of any type of athletic scholarships that we can give to kids, it's gonna attract better students. You know, and it's gonna attract better athletes for us. I mean, you know, as far as a local product, you know, there really isn't that much local product here in the northwestern part of PA. I mean, the closest place we can kind of go in Pennsylvania is Pittsburgh. I mean, we've tried to get a couple kids out of McDowell and Fairview. Those are the two major programs around. But there's just not been a lot of talent to come out of those areas. I mean, they've had lacrosse since probably maybe 2000, but it just hasn't taken off.
Yeah, probably because due to the weather, as you said, it's just
due to the weather, coaches,
exactly,
officials, you name it. They're struggling on pretty much every aspect.
You don't think about Northwestern PA as a lacrosse hub, so no. I totally get that. But the other parts of Pennsylvania are definitely growing in women's lacrosse, especially on the eastern side. That's where I hail from, the Lehigh Valley area. Lacrosse is definitely a bigger sport. How do you feel it's gone in the PSACs? It doesn't have two divisions yet. You don't have a Western and an Eastern. You have just 13 teams all in one. With that format, how is the PSAC? Is it a tough division to compete in and grow a program in?
Yeah, when we first started the program, you know, 7 years ago, that was their original goal, and that's what we played with for the first 4 years, was an East and a West, and it honestly probably hurt us. And that's, you know, honestly, it's just because you play against some of the same schools and you have to play them twice. You don't play the Western schools, so you don't really get a chance to get to the other side of the state. While it is a challenge sometimes to recruit a kid from Philly and the Lehigh Valley area, it is, I mean, the only way to kind of get out there, and the recruiting is to get your name out there, and the only way to get your name out there is to play the schools from there. So, so when they went to that, that one round robin format, it's actually kind of helped us. It's opened up, 3 extra dates for us in terms of our scheduling, which is good because then we can start to play games a little bit earlier in the year. Like when we travel next Friday to West Virginia, and then we'll travel down south and we'll play a few games. That probably wouldn't have been possible without the PSAC going to a round robin, playing everybody in the conference once.
Now let's dive into that first schedule. You have the first 3 matches on the road. As you said, you're going down to West Virginia and heading more and more south. I don't blame you for that. So you're going to continue on doing that, but do you feel that maybe is kind of a difficult task for your team because, as you say, you might get 1 outdoor practice before you head down there, or the first time you're going to see turf or grass is match day, and then you're going to go down south, or these schools have that?
Last year, played Coker, and we were their 8th, 9th game of the year. They were able to work out all the kinks. That was our 3rd game of the year. It's kind of the same thing this year. Alderson Broaddus will have 3 or 4 games under their belt. We play Newberry on Sunday, and we were supposed to be probably like their 7th game. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a challenge. But again, we have dedicated players, which is fantastic for us. The kids have been working harder than they ever have in the past, and something that we've been kind of preaching together as a team is that we need to do other things outside of practice. We can't just rely on the hour and a half, 2 hours that we have with each other. We have to run. You have to do all the little extra things outside of practice to get yourself better. We can't spend 2 hours just working on your shooting because it needs a little bit of help. You need to work on your shooting. And the kids have really bought into that system and that philosophy this year.
And hopefully those little things add up and equal to 4 spots in the standings and get you to the 6th seed and get you into the PSAC playoffs. So thanks for joining me, Coach, and good luck this season.
Thank you very much.
And just remember, their first match is March 6th at Alderson Broaddus. They'll have a few more matches on the road, and their first home contest is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, against Wheeling Jesuit. We're going to hit a break, and on the other side, we will spotlight this week's Scots of the Week and preview the upcoming schedule of events.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Congratulations to Sam Sealy-James and Brianne Dietrich for being named the Male and Female Scots of the Week. Sam recorded a career high in back-to-back games and had 9 points and 9 rebounds in the team's loss to SRU on Saturday in the first round of the PSACs. Brianne finished tops in the long jump and second in the pentathlon and was a part of the 4x400 relay team who placed 4th. Let's now take a look at this week's upcoming schedule of events. Wheelchair basketball team is the 6th seed in the upcoming national championships. That'll kick off on Thursday. Friday is when spring sports get underway. Tennis will be at Bluefield State as they make their way down to South Carolina. Softball, we just talked to Coach Gerlach, will be down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And lacrosse is at Alderson Broaddus at 4 p.m. on Friday as we continue on with the upcoming schedule into Saturday, where wrestling has the EWL Championships, that's the national qualifier, and softball has 2 more games, weather permitting, as Coach Gerlach said. Try to make it out to an event and support your Fighting Scots student athletes. That's all the show we have for this week. We're off next week, and we will return the week after. after with an all-new Scott Sports Show on March 19th with a preview of the Division I Wrestling National Championships. Thanks for watching, and go Burrow.